Well, here's the dial for the radio. I don't know if you can see the scratches in it. Maybe better if my hand's there. It's hard to tell. Might not come through in the video very well, but there's some pretty good scratches in here and stains and stuff. I'll try and do my best to polish this out. I got some polish for the plastic. I'm not sure how these are on here, if they're decals or if they're painted. I just don't want to take a chance. So I will be very careful with a cotton swab and clean the back of this as best I can. I'm not going to polish this backside. It is what it is. I mean, this basil is pretty ugly looking. I mean, if I can't polish it up, I'm thinking I might paint it with some of that metal paint. We'll see. I don't know how far I want to take this. I'm just kind of like making it work, and then we'll see. See how far I go on this. I got it out, so I might as well do it right, but that means I got to take the clock dial out and do the basil on that one too. And getting that basil out, I'm not sure. I will work on doing that. I have some ideas, but we'll see what happens here. I did mark this with a Sharpie, so that I don't know that it matters, but then it can go back together perfectly. And I marked it in a spot that you're never going to see from the outside. So yeah, just so I know how it goes back together in the future. And there's the dial. Really close look at the dial there. The two bands, the special and the broadcast. And services. So it's pretty cool. Even got a little telephone emblem down there. I wonder what that's about. Alright, we'll see you in the next one. Well, I did a little polishing on this lens, and I can't believe how well it turned out. I didn't even clean I just barely cleaned up the inside as best I could, you know. But that polished up real nice. Got all those scratches out of that lens, almost every bit of them. Looks really good. I thought that turned out so nice, I better try and do the basil for it. So I got the sides. They look pretty good. There's a couple of spots, but I'm working on the face of it now. You can see I got part of it done. But it gets right there, you know, it starts really dulling up. I'll work on it some more. This is what I'm using. Well, I do think it turned out really nice. Now I gotta do the clock face. It did turn out really nice. Almost rubbed through the finish, but I don't know, it must be plated. That plastic lens turned out really nice, I thought. So here's the metal clip that holds the clock basil in, lens, basil, whatever you want to call it. And then I guess that would be the basil, the brass piece bent over here. You can see this one got broke. Somebody broke that off before I got to it. I'm not sure how to get this out of here. I'm afraid I'm going to break that tab if I push up on it too hard. I don't want to bust this tab off, but I have an idea. If it breaks, I might be able to fix this if I break it, so I'll mess with it later. But let's look at the front of the radio here, the clock, a little closer. You can see that this one is scratched really hard too through here, and the brass piece or gold piece here is really tarnished, just like the clock is. It's pretty bad all the way around. If I make the radio look really nice and the clock, you know, this will just let it down, you know. Yeah, well, I'll have to think about that. And where I'm going to get this emblem that was glued on here, I don't know. Maybe there wasn't an emblem. I'm going to have to look online real close and see if there was an emblem on the front of the radio. We'll see when I get more done. Oh, the capacitor order came in today. I got some capacitors to install. We'll start working on that here shortly. Well, I worked on the clock dial. Lens, clock dial lens, I guess. Dial lens. And trim ring. That trim ring was really, man, that thing was, it was really bad. It took me hours and hours of hand rubbing to get it to where it's at now. It's not perfect, but boy is it a lot better. The problem, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there are some pretty good scratches right here and in here. Some scratches that just would not come out. I worked and worked at it, but it is a lot better than it was. It looks pretty good on the clock too. Try and put the two together for you so you can see them without screwing stuff up too bad. I mean, it's definitely readable. It's not bad looking. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with it as best as I can get it. I don't know if it's worth putting any more time into it. I don't think these scratches are ever going to come out of here, so I got them both done now. They're both done now. So not so bad. I can't believe how well the metal rings, the trim rings, turned out on these. A lot better than I would have expected. That NEVR-DULL does a good job. Takes a lot of hand rubbing. There's hours and hours of hand rubbing on those, but I got them. They look really good. Well, here's the cabinet without the dial faces and trim rings installed. I gave it a bath. I did some research, looked at some pictures online of the original catalog from Zenith, and there was no emblem here. Somebody had glued something onto the front of this. For what reason, I don't know. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do there. And this paint, this gold paint in here, I don't think there's anything I can really do with that. I'm not talented enough to repaint that. So I really can't think of a way to repair it. I could probably come up with something. Maybe I could print a sticker using that same program. There's a program of, I think, a piece of free software called Inkscape, and some clear decals, but I just don't think that's going to look right. You know, just don't think it's going to look right. But this case is, you know, the top of it is pretty scratched up, and so are the sides. The sides are pretty scratched as well. And there's some sort of adhesive on here, old, like maybe some tape had been on it for a while and dried out. Old adhesive. I can get that off. That's not going to be a problem. I'm just hoping I can get some of these big scratches out of the top up here. These ones here are pretty deep. I mean, they catch my fingernail, but not all that deep. I mean, they're there, but I'm hoping I can work them out. I think I can buff all these out. I got some automotive rubbing compound. Is about the only thing I could think to use on it other than the Novus that I did the dials with. But I don't know if I trust that on this. Maybe I could use the Novus, but the car rubbing compound I'll try first. And then if that doesn't work, I'll go over it with the Novus. And if that don't work, then oh well. It is what it is. You know, it's 1953. So, I mean, it's an old radio. It's not perfect, and I'm not You know, I want it to look as nice as I can get it, but this is really going to let it down. This right here is going to really let it down. So I got to come up with something I can glue on here that's going to maybe fit the radio. I'm not sure. I'll figure something out. When I come up with a fix, you'll be the first to know. Well, maybe not the first, but you'll get to see it anyways. So it doesn't look so bad. I even cleaned the inside of it up some as best I could. It's not so bad. I think it's coming along. There is something printed on the inside here I hadn't showed you before. It's the part number for the chassis and the cabinet inspection. So somebody, you know, they really had some quality control back then apparently, you know. Somebody looked at it and had to put those stamps on there. Put that stamp on there. Pretty interesting. And these decals on the bottom, man, these things are really durable. High quality. I mean, I can't say enough about this. I mean, they just, 1953. Man, that's just incredible, isn't it? That is something. I don't know if there was supposed to be something on these so it doesn't scratch the top of your table or whatever, because, you know, this is pretty hard plastic. So I don't know if your guy would cut some felt to put on there, you know, self-adhesive felt. I'm not sure. And the other foot right here. Have to come up with something for that too, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So the project's coming along now. I guess next thing to do is to work on the cabinet. You know, getting these scratches out, buffing that. My arm's pretty tired from buffing those other things, so I might wait a few days to do that. In the meantime, I might start working on changing those capacitors in the radio itself. Until next time. Well, I rubbed on that as much as I'm going to rub. This is as good as it's going to get. There's still a lot of scratches in it, but they're not nearly... The deep ones are still there. They're just... I've rubbed this and rubbed this as much as I'm going to rub it. I'm done with it. It looks a lot better. It certainly does look a lot better. You can see it's got a pretty good reflection. I could buff on it and 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 buff on it, but I'm calling it good. I still don't know what I'm going to do about this. This is such a freaking mess. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to come up with something to put there. I don't know what. But for now, I think I'm just going to put the radio together and call her good after I finish the alignment and the capacitors. Until next time.